Live, a Laveen teenager is accused of killing his neighbor and then living in his home for weeks.
And tonight, police say it was the suspect's mother who called 911. Fox 10's Steve Nielsen joins us live now with the details in this bizarre case.
Yeah, bizarre is the right word on this. I mean, there's a lot of twists and turns here, so you're going to want to listen close. In the end, the suspect is accused of living in the victim's home and even using his car for weeks after killing him. A few candles and some flowers. Maritza didn't know David Jimenez, but wanted to do something, anything, for her Laveen neighbor.
It's kind of sad. I mean, he lived by here by himself and figured bring him, candles, flowers, just to let him know, even though nobody knew him, we're going to show up for him.
Everyone used to see David, though, on his corner lot of Seeley Street near 51st Ave in Southern.
He would work on his yard. Saw him out there, but I hadn't seen him for a couple weeks.
No one had. And a few doors down, 18-year-old Xavon Johnson hadn't been seen for a while either. According to police, Johnson's mom smelled a foul odor in the neighborhood and went to Jimenez's house to wonder where her neighbor was, but noticed her son's mail addressed there. She called 911. Police say they found Johnson inside, living in his neighbor's home. In the backyard, they found the body of the homeowner, David Jimenez. At his initial appearance, the judge described what Johnson did as disturbing and very brutal. Police say Johnson admitted to breaking into his neighbor's home sometime around December 29th to steal from Jimenez, then shot the homeowner 3 times. Neighbors say the time of the year made it hard to hear gunshots.
It was fireworks, people were shooting them off probably from Christmas all the way until the 2nd. So, yeah, he would never actually thought it was gunshot.
Authorities say after killing Jimenez, Johnson lived in the man's home, drove his car, and used his credit cards, all while his body was left in the backyard.
It's weird. It's creepy. I mean, when I read he was here for living here, well, he's back there dead. Like, how can someone do something like that?
And he's charged with first-degree murder now. His bond set at $1 million cash. Reporting live, Steve Nielsen, Fox 10 News.
In every home, behind every closed door, there's a story waiting to be uncovered. Welcome to Dark Whispers, where we dive deep into the hidden truths of domestic crime and the relationships that turn deadly. If you're drawn to real stories, powerful insights, and the shadows most people avoid, you're in the right place. Subscribe now and step into the whispers they never wanted you to hear. David Jimenez was dead in his own backyard for weeks. 3 bullets, left outside like trash. But here's the part that's going to mess you up. The person who killed him, he didn't run, he didn't hide. He moved into David's house, slept in his bed, drove his car, used his credit cards, all while David's body rotted just steps away in the yard. Make it make sense. Laveen, Arizona, a neighborhood where people mind their business, wave at each other from driveways, maybe exchange a few words about the weather. Nothing fancy, just working people trying to live their lives in peace. David Jimenez had a corner lot on Seeley Street, near 51st Avenue. You know the type of house, the one everybody passes but nobody really pays attention to. David kept to himself, worked on his yard, trimmed the hedges, pulled weeds, kept things neat. Neighbors would see him out there sometimes, doing his thing under the Arizona sun. He'd wave, maybe nod, but that was about it. Nobody really knew David. He lived alone, no wife, no kids running around, no family visiting on weekends. Just David and his corner lot and his quiet life. The kind of man who didn't bother nobody, and nobody bothered him. A few doors down lived 18-year-old Xavon Johnson, young man, still living in the neighborhood with his mama, right there on the same street as David, close enough to see each other's houses, close enough to be neighbors. And that's the thing about neighbors. You assume you're safe around them. You assume that because somebody lives on your street, because you see them coming and going, because you exist in the same little pocket of the world, that there's some kind of understanding, some kind of respect. David probably thought that too. December 29th rolled around, the end of the year. That weird time between Christmas and New Year's when everything feels slow and lazy. People are off work. Kids are out of school. The whole world is just coasting toward the next year, waiting for the ball to drop. Xavon Johnson wasn't thinking about the new year, though. He was thinking about money, about what he didn't have, about what he wanted. And he was thinking about that corner house where the man who lived alone kept to himself. Easy target, right? Old dude. Lives by himself. Probably got some cash laying around, some electronics, something worth taking. So Xavon made a decision. He was going to break into David Jimenez's house and take whatever he could find. Now let's be clear about something. This wasn't some split-second mistake. This wasn't a moment of panic or confusion. Xavon walked from his house to David's house with a plan. He brought a gun. You don't bring a gun to steal a TV. You bring a gun because you're ready for things to go left. You bring a gun because you've already decided that if somebody gets in your way, you're willing to do something about it. Xavon broke into David's home, forced his way inside that quiet corner house, where a man was just trying to live his life in peace, and David was home. What happened inside that house? We'll never know all the details. David's not here to tell his side. But what we do know is this. Xavon Johnson shot David Jimenez. Not once, not twice, 3 times, 3 bullets, 3 decisions, 3 moments where Xavon could have stopped and didn't. And here's the thing that makes this even worse. It was New Year's. You know what that means? Fireworks. People all over the neighborhood setting off fireworks. Bottle rockets. M80s. Roman candles. The whole block sounded like a war zone. One neighbor said it straight up. It was fireworks. People were shooting them off probably from Christmas all the way until the 2nd. So yeah, we would never have actually thought it was gunshots. Nobody heard David Jimenez die. The sound of his murder got swallowed up by celebration, by people counting down to midnight, by families, laughing and hugging and saying Happy New Year. David bled out while the world partied. And Xavon? Xavon looked around that house, looked at what he'd done, looked at David's body on the floor, and instead of running, instead of calling for help, instead of doing anything a normal human being would do, he decided to stay. He dragged David's body to the backyard, left him outside, and then Xavon Johnson moved in. The aftermath, living with death. Let me paint this picture for you because this is where it gets real disturbing. Xavon didn't just hide the body and bounce. He didn't cover his tracks and disappear into the night. No. This man made himself comfortable. He slept in David's bed, woke up in David's house, walked through David's living room, cooked in David's kitchen, all while David's body was decomposing in the backyard, flies gathering, flesh rotting, the smell of death creeping through the Arizona heat. And Xavon kept living. He found David's car, keys, started driving David's car around the neighborhood, bold as anything, like he owned it, like it was his. He found David's credit cards, started using them, buying whatever he wanted, swiping that card like David was going to pay the bill at the end of the month. Think about that level of disrespect. Think about that level of cold. You take a man's life, and then you take his car, his money, his whole existence. Xavon Johnson erased David Jimenez and tried to step into his shoes. Days passed, then a week, then another week, and nobody noticed. Nobody came knocking. Nobody filed a missing person report, because David didn't have people checking on him like that. He was alone, and Xavon knew it. The neighborhood kept moving. People went to work, came home, lived their lives. And a few doors down, a teenager was living in a dead man's house like it was nothing, But here's the thing about death. It doesn't stay hidden forever. Death has a way of announcing itself. And in the Arizona heat, with a body left outside, that announcement was coming. The smell of truth. Death has a smell. If you've never experienced it, be grateful. It's not something you forget. It's thick, heavy. It gets in your nose and sits there. Makes your stomach turn. Makes you gag even when you're trying to hold it together. And in Laveen, Arizona, in the middle of January, somebody finally smelled it. Xavon Johnson's mother. His own mama. Now, we don't know what was going through her mind during those weeks. Did she wonder where her son was staying? Did she ask questions? Did he tell her he was crashing at a friend's place? We don't know. But what we do know is this. When that smell hit the neighborhood, when that thick, unmistakable scent of decomposition started creeping through the air, she noticed. She followed it. The way anybody would. The way you do when something doesn't sit right. And it led her to David Jimenez's house. That quiet, corner lot where the man who kept to himself used to work on his yard. But there was something else that caught her attention. Something that made her stop cold. Mail. Her son's mail. Sitting right there. Addressed to Xavon Johnson. At David Jimenez's address. Girl, let me tell you. That's when everything clicked. That's when a mother's worst fear became real. Because why would your son's mail be at the neighbor's house? Why would his name be on letters at a place he doesn't live? She didn't wait. She didn't try to figure it out on her own. She called 911, and when the police showed up, when they knocked on that door and entered that house, they found Xavon Johnson inside, living like he owned the place, comfortable, settled in. The officers started asking questions, started looking around, and Xavon? He tried to play it off at first, but you can't play off the smell of death. You can't explain away why you're living in somebody else's house when that somebody hasn't been seen in weeks. The police went to the backyard, and there he was, David Jimenez, left outside like garbage. Weeks of Arizona sun and heat breaking down his body. Insects doing what insects do. The man who just wanted to live quietly on his corner lot, reduced to evidence in his own yard. 3 gunshot wounds. The medical examiner would confirm that later. 3 bullets that ended a life and started a nightmare. The community responds. News travels fast in neighborhoods like this. Somebody gets arrested. Police tape goes up. News vans roll through. And suddenly everybody's talking. People on Cellily Street couldn't believe it. A murder. Right there on their block. A body in the backyard for weeks while everybody went about their lives. One neighbor, a woman named Marita, didn't even know David personally. Never had a real conversation with the man. But when she heard what happened, when she learned that David Jimenez died alone and stayed alone even in death, something in her broke. She bought candles. She bought flowers. She walked over to that corner lot and laid them down. It's kind of sad, she said. He lived by himself and I figured bring him candles, flowers, just to let him know. Even though nobody knew him, we're going to show up for him. Even though nobody knew him. That line hits different, doesn't it? Because that was David's whole life. A man who existed in a neighborhood full of people but didn't really connect with any of them. A man who waved and nodded but never got invited to barbecues or block parties. A man who was so isolated that when he disappeared, nobody thought to check on him. And Xavon Johnson knew that. Counted on it. Used that isolation as cover while he played house with a dead man's life. Another neighbor talked about seeing David regularly. He would work on his yard, be out there, but I hadn't seen him for a couple weeks. 2 weeks. That's how long it took for someone to even mention his absence. Not because people didn't care, but because David was just that invisible, that forgettable. But now, Now everybody remembered him. Now everybody had something to say. Now the corner lot with the neat hedges and the trimmed grass became a crime scene. A reminder that you never really know what's happening behind closed doors. Or in this case, in the backyard.
Quiet Laveen neighborhood is shaken after a man is found shot to death and his body left in his own backyard for nearly 2 weeks. And police say the man accused of killing him was living in his house after that killing.
12 News journalist Sean Rice has been speaking with people near 51st Avenue in Southern. And Sean, this has to be one of the most bizarre homicide cases in a long time.
It really is. It's one of those criminal cases and homicide investigations that leaves you with so many whys. But neighbors tell me 57-year-old David Jimenez, the victim in this case, as they describe him as kind and thoughtful, the kind of neighbor you choose to live around and want to be around on a daily basis. But when his daily routine suddenly stopped and he was not seen for several days over the last 2 weeks, neighbors' concerns quickly turned into a homicide investigation.
I just wanted to come and pay my condolences.
Candles and flowers now sit in front of David Jimenez's home, placed there Wednesday by a woman he didn't know.
It's unexpected because it's close to home. I have kids. I have a 5-year-old, I have a 20-year-old, and a 13-year-old, and same that happened to one of us on that side, It's just scary.
Less than 24 hours earlier, video from a neighbor who lives along Seeley Street in Laveen shows the large Phoenix police presence. Their investigation focused not only on Jimenez's home, but a home 2 doors down as well. Investigators discovered a gruesome series of events happened over the last 2 weeks. Jimenez's 18-year-old neighbor, Xavon Johnson, had allegedly climbed David's back wall, armed with a gun in late December. Court records say Johnson shot his neighbor 3 times while he tried to steal his money. Then he wrapped his dead body in blankets in his own backyard.
I was thinking about how someone could do that.
Investigators uncovered that after allegedly killing his neighbor, Johnson lived in his home for the next 2 weeks, driving his car around Laveen, using his credit cards, even ordering packages in his own name dropped off on David's front doorstep. This bizarre ploy came crumbling down this week when Johnson's mom and other family members reported not seeing their loved one or their neighbor in some time. A routine walk in front of the home revealing the stench of decomposing remains in the backyard. Court records say his own mom called for police, asking for a welfare check on her neighbor, only to find her son living inside.
Can't think of an 18-year-old doing something like this, and now he's going to be gone, spending the rest of his life in prison, if anything.
Johnson's arrest came early Tuesday morning as police descended on the home, placing him in handcuffs after he barricaded himself inside. For neighbors who knew David, their attention shifts to how he treated them, the kind of person you want living right next door.
He was kind of by himself, but he was good to me. He probably, I don't know, he was good to me. He took care of me.
Certainly an emotional last 48 hours for people in that neighborhood. Now, this morning, neighbors also told me David lived alone and all of his extended family members live out of state. It's a likely reason why his body was not discovered for 2 whole weeks. Now, as for Johnson, he's been charged with first-degree murder and he remains in jail on a $1 million bond. Troy.
Yeah, and in stories like this, not only do you have that innocent victim who's lost his life, but now whatever decision that 18-year-old apparently made, his life is pretty much over as well, Sean.
Yeah, there was no sort of narrative in the probable cause records we read as to why he would do this. There was just a lot of talk about family members noticing he was gone and then neighbors noticing their neighbor was gone as well, and then the pieces started coming from there. So as I mentioned off the top, there's still a lot of whys as to why a 18-year-old kid a teen in this situation or a young adult would take these steps to harm their neighbor in this way. Terrible either way.
So disturbing. All right, Sean, thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
They arrested Xavon Johnson right there in David's house. 18 years old, still a teenager, but old enough to know exactly what he did. They took him in, read him his rights, sat him down in an interrogation room, and according to police reports, Xavon admitted it. He admitted to breaking into David Jimenez's home on December 29th, admitted he was there to steal, admitted he shot David 3 times. 3 times. He said it himself. But here's what gets me. After admitting all of that, after confessing to murder, Xavon still had the nerve to act like it wasn't that deep, like he didn't just take a man's entire existence and throw it away for some cash and credit cards. His initial court appearance was something else. The judge looked at the case file, looked at Xavon sitting there in his orange jumpsuit, and the judge didn't hold back. Disturbing and very brutal. That's how the judge described what Xavon did. Not just the murder, not just the 3 bullets, but everything after. The living in the house, the using of the credit cards, the driving of the car, the complete and total disrespect of human life. They charged him with first-degree murder, not manslaughter, not second-degree, first-degree. Because this wasn't a heat-of-the-moment situation. This wasn't self-defense. This was premeditated. This was a choice. Bond was set at $1 million. Cash, not 10%, not a payment plan. $1 million cash because the judge knew exactly what kind of risk Xavon Johnson posed. And the neighbors? They couldn't wrap their heads around it. "It's weird. It's creepy," one of them said. "When I read he was living here while he's back there dead, like, how can someone do something like that?" That's the question, isn't it? How can someone do something like that? How do you kill your neighbor and then make yourself at home? How do you sleep at night knowing there's a body rotting in the yard? How do you look at yourself in the mirror and not see a monster? Xavon Johnson had weeks to think about what he did. Weeks to feel guilt or remorse or fear. Weeks to turn himself in and face the consequences. But he didn't. He kept living, kept spending, kept pretending like David Jimenez never existed, until his own mother smelled the truth.